I'm going on an adventure!
I have no memory of this place.
I love adventures. I love creating fantastical worlds which my friends can immerse in and shape with their own choices. However, the process of taking a simple spark of inspiration and developing that into an immersive, naturally flowing narrative, while also providing potential game masters all the tools they'll need to run it, can be a daunting task. It is easy to become overwhelmed by all the details and be lost about where to start. Therefore, in this video, I'll break down how to begin writing your own adventure by answering 3 incremental questions: who, where, and why. The first step when creating an adventure is deciding who or what will be the antagonist of the story. This decision will impact the level of play, the setting, and potential conflicts of the game. Therefore, we can't begin to write anything before we've chosen our monster. When picking a monster, think about their desires and goals. Are they simply an animalistic predator seeking food, or does their villainy stem from personal ambitions? Perhaps they are misunderstood, unintentionally causing disaster, leaving the players to remedy the repercussions. For the purposes of this example, we'll pick the hag as our main antagonist. Hags are obsessed with causing misery. They dwell in dreary locations and delight in luring people into danger. A great storytelling feature is their ability to disguise both their appearance and voice. Hags are tricksters and intelligent schemers, willing to patiently sow the seeds of their evil plans. This will help fuel ideas for how the hag interacts with the players later on. So, for this adventure, our monster will be acting based on a desire to feed on misery and continue to cause misery in the long term. As discussed in my video on building horror, a useful tool for creating suspense is the fear of the unknown. Human nature demands answers to mysteries, even if searching for solutions leads to danger. Storytellers can create an aura of unease by providing minimal sensory hints about their monster. Brainstorm at least 2 different sensory hints you can sprinkle throughout your adventure. In our example of the hag, they are known for reveling in disgust and can mimic any sound they've heard. Therefore, we can describe a unique horrid smell the party encounters when investigating areas related to the hag, as well as utilize her voice mimicry while invisible to create unnerving sounds in the swamp and dungeon. Now that we have our monster, I hear you say, we can begin writing and lay out the dungeon, right? No! Monsters impact the environment around them. Therefore, when setting up a story, it is essential to understand the antagonist's effect on the setting around them. An invading dragon may devastate the local ecosystem. The undead may cause the local villagers to barricade themselves or abandon the village altogether. Our monster's role in the world building will influence the structure of the story. We need to understand if the players are walking into the monster's domain, or will the monster be invading the player's space? Will lesser monsters be subservient to our main antagonist, or will the wild beasts be acting on their own accord? Brainstorming 2 or 3 points about how the monster is impacting the world around them will help develop your writing when it comes to introducing your players into the adventure. Following along with our example of the hag, let's have her manipulating a village that's been recently ravaged by a flood. Situated on the banks of a swamp, the village of Brimalt has recently suffered a devastating flood. Many of the wooden homes collapsed, while others became waterlogged and breeding grounds for mold. To make matters worse, the damp conditions contributed to a disease quickly spreading throughout the village. In an effort to mitigate the plague, the ill were secluded to the local inn under the care of its manager, Elna Verhenia. However, unbeknownst to the locals, Elna is already dead. During the storm, a hag snuck in and murdered the innkeeper, hiding her body away in the flooded cellar beneath the inn and replacing her using illusion magic. Taking advantage of her new position of power, the hag guides the villagers into all sorts of strife in the name of healing. By curing a handful of infected villagers, the town immediately placed their faith and trust in her hands, carrying out whatever task she instructed them to do. At the same time, 1 or 2 patients silently went missing, having been dragged down into the flooded cellar where the hag can gleefully feast on their torment. With this foundational lore prepared, we can show evidence of the hag's impact throughout the adventure. When the party are first traveling through the swamps towards town, they can encounter a group of villagers desperately failing to catch and kill a cockatrice. If pressed about this perilous activity, the villagers will resolutely inform them that their livers are useful ingredients in healing medicines as instructed by their village healer. We can indicate the poor conditions the villagers dwell in by describing their sullen faces and black ringed eyes. The weapons they carry are makeshift alterations of regular farming tools, a knife tied to a stick, chipped axes, and handheld hammers. Alright, we've picked the monster and have built a foundational setting for our players to explore. Can we start describing the tavern the party meets in? No. There's one more question we need to answer before we delve into the meat of writing. Why now? A dragon that's happily living away in the mountains can be dealt with next week. A dragon that uproots an entire farmhouse with the family still inside needs to be dealt with immediately. A plot hook that's compelling is one that demands that the characters act urgently. Motivations for players typically fall under 3 main categories: reward, morality, or discovery. A reward could be a satisfying amount of gold or a stronger weapon. Morality deals with the desire to do what is right and help others. Discovery concerns unearthing potential secrets or solving intriguing mysteries. Understanding what will motivate the characters to involve themselves in the adventure's conflict will help guide the bulk of the storytelling. Highlighting the hag's hunger for misery, we can manufacture a sense of urgency by having her scheme begin to fall apart. We could reveal that a beloved villager is missing, their last known whereabouts being Elna's Inn. Perhaps a local went to visit their ill relative and discovered a clue that they're in serious danger. Maybe a young patient happened to witness a tall, frightening figure drag another patient down into the dilapidated cellar. If we insert our players into an already escalating problem, they'll be eagerly invested in the ensuing adventure. Equipped with a premeditated foundation of the adventure, Game Masters can more easily develop the subsequent writing. Understanding the monster, its surrounding environment, and how the problems escalate creates a framework which writers can then build their story upon. With this, we have a baseline for the introduction. In the next video, I'll discuss the middle section of the adventure, dealing with the dungeon layout, encounter design, traps, and puzzles. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive, and I'll see you in the next video.